And again, Tiger, you see, will think, well, there's no great applause, so he's probably gone through. Well, if that was a 6, Tiger would be hitting a 7, surely.
Well, he had a distinct advantage there, Peter, in realizing he knew exactly what Lee had. He saw the club. Experience would tell him it was a 6 iron. You're not allowed to ask, of course. And so he went down to the 7 and hit it crisply, and he's knocked it absolutely dead level with the flag. Just let's have a look. It's a beautiful arm and shoulder turn in one. There's not much has to happen. It's just so supple. It is just perfect. There's a 3/4 length backswing and yet a magnificent shoulder turn. Not much from the legs. Now he clears out of the way and just surges through and up. It's elegant and it's simple, and it's one that not too many of us can do, unfortunately. Wonderful.
Well, Lee Westwood has overshot this green, got a big bounce from the back part of the green, and has landed in a very difficult shot indeed. Very difficult position, I should say. On the downslope, he's way above the flat length, and well, the crowd are getting quite hyped up, but I don't think Lee's got the best opportunity to challenge Tiger for this hole at the moment. Anything can happen with a chip in, though.
I think the interesting thing there we got from that picture behind his ball, that's a new camera angle that we had, and it showed that why we see so much difficulty behind this green, that little trough, that you can't sort of scuttle it down the hill and expect it to run unless you carry it all the way to the green. You can get a very unpredictable bounce. There you see where the trough is, where the dampness of the overnight rain has really got it heavy. He's just, let's see, as he steps off the green, down he comes and then up. So there's no question about where the first bounce has got to be. You can't think of scuttling it. It's got to be 5 feet on the green. And the weight forward, you see, to try and get the club head to travel parallel with the slope. So he lean on the left leg, buckle up the right. As if things weren't difficult enough, he's 4 down. And you see he landed it not 5 feet on the green, 5 inches on the green, and it was trapped.
Well, it's a pity because it's getting a bit rather tame, because yesterday we saw Ian Woosnam in with a tremendous chance to beat Woods, who is the most exciting player at the moment in the world of golf, and he's only, what, 21 years of age. And Westwood too has had his opportunities, but things have got a little bit ragged. And this, of course, well, you can look ahead to Ryder Cup matches and confidence levels and all the rest of it, and well, a European contingent this week have not done their confidence levels a great amount of good. But tomorrow's another day. Now, even if Lee Westwood holds this putt, Woods will have a shot for the match. If he misses, it'll be shake hands time. It's not been his day on the greens. Just well played, Tiger Woods in the final with a very heavy cold, and he's played well when needed. He's been rather ragged on other occasions. The others, a couple of them have let him off the hook. He's in the final against his great friend Mark O'Meara, And that promises, if we get a decent sort of day, I think that could be an excellent match indeed, because the contrast in the two styles for a start. O'Meara always jokingly says when he plays he should give him a couple of strokes, but well, we'll wait and see.
Two great friends take each other on tomorrow. They play so much social golf together, Tiger Woods and Mark O'Meara. But they will play for the serious prize tomorrow, the Cisco World Matchplay title. Mark O'Meara, who earlier got through 11 and 10 against Vijay Singh. Tiger Woods, a 5 and 4 winner against Lee Westwood. Right, let's hear from Tiger, who's talking with Dougie Donnelly.
Congratulations, Tiger. Still coughing, but pleased to be finished early, I'm sure.
I am. It was a tough. I was 3 down and fought my way back in there. He made a mistake on the back nine, and I made a couple birdies. And it was just one of those ebb and flow matches. It was never really. I didn't really never got on a roll until the end, and made a lot of putts. But that's what it takes to win matches.
Yeah, there was that spell around the turn this afternoon when I think you won 3 holes out of 4, and maybe that's what won it for you in the end.
Yeah, I just made some putts. I made birdies on both 7 and 8, which were huge, and then I made that huge par putt on 9.
Yeah.
Not to give him a hole back, because that's the last thing you want to do when you have a 3-up lead, is start giving him some hope.
So now you're in the final against your great friend, Big Brother Mark. Looking forward to that?
I am looking forward to it. Obviously, he played great, and it'll be fun. The crowds won't be probably as bipartisan as they have been.
You're not criticising the British crowds,
I'm
I
not
hope.
saying anything.
Not especially friendly. He won the first with a par. He birdied the second and third to go 3 up inside the first 3 holes. The next 2 holes were halved, so Woods was 3 up after 5 and showed no mercy at the par 5 6th. This was his approach. Well, you recall that in the second round, Vijay Singh destroyed Patrick Sherland over the front 9. Mark O'Meara then did the same to Singh yesterday, and now it's O'Meara's turn to suffer. Tiger with a putt for a birdie 3 to go 4 up after 6 holes. The 7th was halved, the 8th was halved. Play got underway half an hour later than planned this morning because of frost, but it's a glorious morning now. And Tiger Woods is 4 up on Mark O'Meara. So Tiger's morning so far, the friendship will never be affected, but maybe O'Meara's gone just a little quiet after the start that Tiger Woods has made. So they're playing the 9th, Mark O'Meara and Tiger Woods patrolling the West Course on this wonderful morning. We've got Beverly Lewis, Mike Houston and Howard Clark. Let's join Alex Hay and Peter Alice.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. It really is, as Steve was saying, the most beautiful morning. It's the first bit of frost we've, certainly where I live, we've seen. And it was one of those mornings where you took a deep breath and it was, ooh, it sort of almost stung the inside of your nostrils. Young Tiger's cracking them along well, playing very smoothly. Just over 150 odd yards to the flag. 150 or so, and his second shot. 4 up.
Cut your thumb.
That's not a bad shot. This hole 450 yards, 150 to the flag. So just a modest drive of about 300 yards. How many furlongs that is, or rods, poles and perches, but it's still a mighty big blow. Promises to be, well, 2 of the biggest names in golf at the moment, and great contrast between the 2 of them. This 9th hole, familiar to many of you. It's amazing to me how the left-hand side of the fairway has filled in, the trees along the railway line. No bunkers to catch anybody really from the tee, unless there's a gale behind. You might drive into one of those, I suppose, if you were Tiger Woods with a 50-mile-an-hour wind behind. Biggish flat green that tilts a little bit this way and that, and a very good par 4, particularly when there's a bit of breeze against. There's hardly any wind at the moment. I say this is the most heavenly autumn day. A little bit of frost, everything looked very, pretty this morning. I was past the ladies' course at Sunningdale on the old A30, and a few of the intrepid warriors were out, and it somehow looked very attractive. A little bit of frost on the trees. Beautiful. Fascinating when you think back just a few days. Woods here, the youngest competitor, playing O'Meara, the oldest. Woods just 7 under par for his rounds played, holes played. O'Meara 17 under. And not a very good week for our European champions. Our best players are here, and well, they just didn't get going. Had opportunities, my word they did, and weren't able to take them. And now these two friends battling away. It's like seeing Marks playing Spencer, or Rolls against Royce, or Hale against Pace, I suppose. But I don't think there's going to be any sort of larking about, because both of them, you know, I don't think Mr. O'Meara would want to go home having had his bottom smacked to the tune of about 7 and 6. So he'll be trying his hardest to get back at this young man, but he just has been winning his matches. Nothing really has been happening for Woods. He's done it when he's had the opportunity, or the other players have made mistakes to let him get to this position, and he's made a sensational start to the game today with umpteen birdies in the first few holes. He's 4 up before we've even blown the cobwebs away. 4-2-3, 4-3-3, 4-4, and this putt to be out in 30. It was yesterday afternoon, I think, was the first time he'd been under par. The par out's 35. It's a good par, particularly with the windy conditions. Good speed. No, it's beautifully judged from such long range. So he's 31 out. First against Woosnam, he was 36 against Westwood, 37, but out in 33 when he did all the damage yesterday afternoon, and now out in 30 against O'Meara. So O'Meara, who's been striking the ball beautifully and putting nicely, has this to get one back. Howard Clark made a good point yesterday, I thought, saying that O'Meara seems to hit the ball just so straight, and that may seem a bit strange to you, but some people will hit the ball, they get a little bit of left to right, right to left, but when this man's in form, the ball seems to go dead straight. And this to get one back. Sliding right. Oh, hello. Well, they were saying the greens are only medium pace in one of the reports I read this morning. That certainly looks a little bit speedy. This to be out in 35. And this needs to be just right of centre. It'll move a little bit. If he hits it left of centre, it could just dribble away. Yes, well held. 35 to 31. Looking more and more like Michael Houston's older brother.
So 9 holes completed.
Woods 4 up after 9 holes, out in 30, 35 for O'Meara. They turn for home, and I was rather disappointed and disturbed to read that Woods had to put up with some noisy ruffians yesterday around the course. Well, we can do without them.
I thought he had some bodyguards or something.
I don't know whether they didn't just take him in the bushes and see to him, but perhaps that's politically incorrect, I suppose. Mobile guillotines will be provided in a few years' time. Flogging harness, must be some around.
Well, this is where they're making their way through to the 10th hole, the par 3, which measures 186 yards. But today the pin is 18 yards up the green, but only 7 from the right. They've moved it obviously every day into different positions. Where it is in the morning, unless the weather goes funny on it, it stays there for the day. And that's a pretty demanding spot as well, because it's not far out of the tree line. And if you try and cut it too fine and get a bit of backspin, which these players seem to accumulate, you could easily spin into the gully on the right. The tee pretty well forward, so the hole probably playing more like 165 yards, I would think, today. Glorious morning. Tiger with what will be no more than a 6-iron. Lovely strike of ball, then turf. And there's the backspin, which is not fierce enough to screw it backwards, but solid enough to stop it quickly. I must say that we're in for a treat as far as golf swings are concerned. There are no two better swingers or players in the world. He's going for an extra club. He's gone for 5-iron. Beautiful balance. He's not too sure about it. He may have tucked it a wee bit left. A wee bit, only about 6 or 7 yards. Two good friends, of course, and they know each other's game inside out. There'll be no surprises. There'll be nothing will come at them that they've never seen before. Normally they play against each other for about $5, but there's a little bit more at risk today. £170,000 is the first prize. Mark O'Meara is a pretty classic swinger. He's a solidly built player. You can see how nicely the hands are just a little ahead of the shaft, just ahead of the ball rather, just keeping the lean on the shaft. And that means he'll go into an instant shoulder turn. There it goes, beautifully done. Nice little inward movement of the left leg, but not much heel lift, if any. And that is the perfect position. 90-degree turn, hands solid and clear of his shoulders. Then he transfers the weight, in he goes. The right heel stays a little longer on the ground. I think as the day goes on, we'll see Tiger Woods in action, and he shifts his feet a little bit faster. Another look at it from the original angle there. You'll see how the left shoulder comes beautifully under, but how high he keeps his shaft off the right shoulder. He doesn't get down. In other words, he keeps width into the arc right through it. The heel stays flat until the strike is on its way, and then he comes up solid on the left hip. Very nicely done. Camera angle makes it look as if O'Meara's further away, but I wouldn't be sure about it. One of the gentlemen in the red jackets there to protect Tiger. You repair a pitch mark instantly, and that's it. Done forever. If you leave it for half an hour, it's there for ages till the greenkeepers do the top dressing. That's why anyone involved with running a golf club continually begs the players to do the repairing. Do too, in case some lazy devil in front of you didn't. "22 years of age, Tiger Woods. What a career, a prospect. He had a great amateur career, 3 times US amateur champion. So he's used to match play. They play match play in that amateur championship. The hand-cut greens, not the sort of big triple X's that whistle round in a quarter of the speed. The man does this by hand, walks up and down. Now, this is sort of down the slope of the green, not a lot of borrow. It's not going to turn a lot. This for a 2. I was pretty sure that'll be conceded. I don't think any friendships will be shattered today. They're much too close for that, but they'll still try. There'll be no backing off. £90,000 is the second prize, £90,000. They've both won $1.9 million each this year so far, so they're not having a rough time. Quite a nice way to close out the year. Be out to Sun City, no doubt. Still sniffling. The pair of them have had the flu. Had influenza. Now, if anything, it should come from the right side of the cup, but not a lot. Just cross over those different shades of line. A wee bit on the wrong side there. He's annoyed because he read it badly. It's his first visit, of course, to Wentworth. He doesn't know those of us who've been here so many times. They know the subtleties of the greens. But the hole is halved and Tiger still has a 4-up lead. Yes, that's the way it would have gone, Tiger. It did turn right to left. And there it is, 4 up, 10 holes gone. Tiger Woods in the lead. We'll have a look at the putt again. I thought it was going to be a right to left curve. He starts it off. You can see it. There's the image of the cup. He started it left thinking it's coming the other way, but it was not.
Blame it on fluff. 11th hole. New bunkers up on the right-hand side, which have tightened the hole up quite a bit. It turns around, and the bank on the left-hand side there used to be very punishing. Over the years, the heathers sort of got a bit worn away with all the traffic and spectators going around the corner over the years. A simple-looking hole, but one that often causes the players to drop a shot. The flag you can see on the front today, only 6 yards on, or 6 paces on, 4 in from the left. And Tiger with, well, like a 3. A spoon in old money. Grab a lie. Is it in the stuff on the left? Oh, hello. Oh, hasn't moved as quickly since, well, I can't remember when. He's lucky he's found a good lie there, I think. And he's only about 60, 70 yards from the hole. Simplicity itself, this swing, as Alex was saying. Just back and through, swing so sort of straight up and down, no little bends and twirls and flails in it. And I mean, he's been very successful over the years, but suddenly burst through this year, winning a couple of majors, and I suppose a lot of it's confident. There's our magic machine going across there, which gives you the most extraordinary pictures. Have a look at Woods now. He's only taking the club back 3/4, doesn't even get to the horizontal. He was horizontal a couple of years ago, just there. Then look at that left hip now as he comes down. Look at that left hip moving. Bang! It's the most extraordinary thing, and right through. Swing of a young man, I fancy. And he hoiked it round to the left, and we're just sailing along the edge of the fir trees. Some spectators there just pondering the day, and suddenly they're all up. Look out, look out, it's coming back, and watch this bit of footwork here. Look at that, eh? When they say they haven't got any rhythm, it's ridiculous. And let's have a look now. It's a bit of good fortune. He was saying, grab a lie, grab a lie. Well, it certainly has. And that's very, now, this is our special camera, see, on this boom. See that? The shadow there. Up we go. You can stick it in the most extraordinary places and get some incredible photographs. Amazing machine. See the spectator walkway up on the left, and Tiger's been rather fortunate. He couldn't have placed it any better. But that's the luck of the draw. There they go, onward and onward. You see, we've spoken, for those of you that stay with us a lot, about this great event, and some people think there should be more players, etc. But if you're going to play at this time of the year, if you're going to have 16 players, we've already had a delay. Well, it was because of rain, but we sometimes, along this Thames Valley, get a little bit of mist, and then today we had a touch of frost. If you're going to be here tiptoeing towards November, that's what happens. So there's something perhaps to be said, if you could be guaranteed of getting all the very best players, to have 8. And so everybody plays, but the more players you have, you know, you can't really start before much for 8 o'clock in the morning. And because it's on a dull day, it's all finished at 6. Now, Beverly Lewis is, our intrepid Beverly, is out there marching along, and she's going to give us a full report on this lie.
Well, it'll be a very good lie. It will be a very good lie, Peter, because they're still playing pick, wife and place on the fairway. But Mark's left with an uphill second shot on this hole, the 11th. 117 yards to the flag, and he just needs to be a little bit careful not getting too much backspin, because although my chart said the pin is 6 yards on, at the specific angle he's coming in from, it's only about 3 paces from the front edge of that green, and he could spin back off it. And there's a bunker there as well. I think probably a 9-iron for Mark. Throw it past the pin and hope a little bit of backspin brings it back to the hole. Change today in playing conditions. There's almost no breeze at all.
Oh, that's a... Now, you see, that's something you can't legislate for. It was 5 or 6, 7 yards to the right of the flag. Just got the right direction of spin, and that's virtually stone dead. Maybe a little bit further away than it looks, but that looks of it may well be conceded.
Well, Tiger's just a 106 precisely, just a sandwich for a tall American. He should get some action on this, okay. Behind the hole and spin your head off. Oh, how about that? Now, that will disappoint him enormously, because he would have thought that that would have come screaming back, especially as he was hitting it off a slight uphill lie, getting the opportunity to put maximum spin on it, and that's what happens. Strange old shots.
Well, that's the luck of the draw, you see. And if you eliminate all good fortune and everyone, you might just as well sort of become a robot, and just everyone would go around in 10 under par and no one would ever win anything. So I think that's part of the frustration and charm of the game, and it was perfectly demonstrated there. Wonderful result. See, his ball pitched there, it jumped forward and then turned sharp left and spun down the slope to the hole. It might so easily have stopped as Tiger Woods' ball did. He struck it quite beautifully. Simple swing again, but it was quite extraordinary. He's watching it now, he's thinking that's a few yards right of the flag. And it lands, and then it sort of stops. And then look at that, one little hop, and the ball is just spinning in a certain direction to do that, to give that result. I don't think even these great players are good enough to play for that to happen or know it's going to happen every time. A bit of a do or die. But again, Alex, you get people cracking the balls at the hole and say, I had to go for it. If it goes too hard, if it hit the hole, it wouldn't go in. So you've got to putt sensibly and be conscious of the speed. Can't just bash it and hope for the best, can you?
No, I don't think you can. And anyone who plays this wonderful game, when they establish a lead, it's funny how the sort of law of averages comes round and sucks it back. So Tiger will contain himself. He is a naturally aggressive player, of course, Peter, and he knows that his opponent here is going to pretty certainly have 3. He'll read this one a wee bit from right to left. Would you agree? Just a little bit down the hill, right to left?
Yes, I would think that's it. He might hold it as well. Well, he might miss it as well. That's a wise thought, eh?
Very convincing.
Not a million miles away. What a wonderful putt. A wonderful putt. Well, he's going to ask his old buddy to putt, is he? It must be a little bit further than we think. But I suppose in Matchplay you should always ask, unless it's an absolute gimme, your opponent to putt if it's for a... If it's for a...
I'll make sure. I'm going to remember that for next week.
The interesting thing is, in medal play, you wouldn't think twice about it. But these are silly little nuances in match play that, and other conditions, they can niggle you. Fancy the miserable old devil not giving me that. Yeah. So, Mark O'Meara gets one back, and shortish walk across to the next hole, and moving now towards the final run-in here on the West Course at Wentworth, and beautiful weather conditions, so the course will play long. There's no sort of helping winds, the fairways are soft. Takes some mighty hitting, Alex.
Yes, indeed. This one really has. This is the par 5 12th, which has been stretched this year. It's now 510 yards from a newish tee, and the whole dog-legging to the left as it does, bunker free until you get up to the green, and the pin is just 6 yards on, or sorry, 11 yards on, and 4 from the right, tight behind that bunker actually. So it's there it is. So anyone who can drive out to the right half of the fairway, the further right you go, the more difficult comes the second. And even at as far back as the tee, attention to detail would be that he'd know exactly where the pin is set, which side he should come in from. You have to drive up and over those trees. I don't think anyone would sort of seriously take on threading it through. I think you go over the top. Oh, he's off. There he is, just off. As I said, he's now got to play a little bit. If he's going to get the green, he's got to play a little bit of a fade on it, left to right curve, to get past that bunker. It was interesting that the way they measured the length of the putter, it's a sort of accepted fact in friendly golf. If you put the putter head in the hole and the ball is within the leather, as they say, you're given. But Tiger insisted that it was an inch wider than the leather. So it's funny when you make a footpath, isn't it? They all walk on the grass. I know that because I make lots of footpaths and they all walk on the grass.
Now as queer as folk, you know.
Tiger Woods' ball in the semi-rough, but lying quite beautifully. The course has been superbly prepared, and straight up there you can see the bunker. The sun just shining into the bunker. That's the one on the right. The one on the left is in the shadow of the trees. Out of bounds at the back of this green. Tiger experienced that on his first day out. Not understanding the length, he flew straight through the green and over the out of bounds fence. Jerry Higginbottom, the caddy of Mark O'Meara, has Mark's ball on the fairway, and as Beverly was saying earlier, guaranteed a good lie because of the ruling that's been allowed. But how far short he is of the Tiger.
Well, quite right, Peter. Alex, rather. Can't muddle you two up, can I? The lie will actually be good, but it is in a little hollow on this fairway. Obviously, fairways are not totally smooth, and this is lying down in a little bit of a hollow, a little bit of a downhill lie, which will mean the ball will tend to come out a little bit lower than it might otherwise do, but I don't think it'll cause him too many problems. At 218 or so yards to the flag, it's going to be a long iron in here. He had to hit a 3-wood in yesterday, so ferocious was the breeze at this point. Yes, he can place it, but it's still in a little dip. But they're very talented, these people, aren't they? The shot to the green is pretty straightforward. The bunker on the right comes into play slightly, perhaps more than the one on the left. Quite damp in front of the green, and it's quite uphill into this green as well. The ball will not roll up there. At 218 yards, it's certainly a long iron.
Well, it's a long iron and it's pretty soft in front of that green. He's got another option, of course, of taking a 4-wood or a 5-wood and sort of carrying it all the way, because the ball, when it lands, certainly won't run very far. And he's out with a little baffler, I fancy. Now that's out the neck. It might come back and he might get away with it. He did. He necked it a little bit. He probably thought he might have had a little bit too much club, but that wasn't a good strike. And as Bev was saying, it might have been in just a little hollow. It might have influenced his swing thoughts. Don't you start messing with your swing, son, now. You're too old. Now Tiger, of course, with a blast this couple of 100 yards, long iron. That's a 4. He's got to carry it all the way. He's knocked it left. And not a million miles away from that little post. There's little drainage ditches and all sorts of things round and about this green. So neither on in 2. It is a par 5. Alex, do you see anything? Do you think he just came across it necked?
The line of his toes, which are to the right, and as Beverly was saying, he's in a little hollow. He was trying to get one of those shots where you shut the stance and sort of turn onto the ball, get a wee cut on it. But when he turned onto it, he closed the face at the same time. That's beautifully orthodox here. But you'll see now, here he goes. He starts over the shot, and there it is. His right side got ahead of him. He went over his hips. The shut stance is not a characteristic of this man, so I think that was because of the little trough in the fairway. He keeps looking at his left wrist. I think the nice throughout today is that the left wrist of both of these players at the top of the backswing is, you remember what we call square? It became fashionable in the 60s, the early 60s, with the great players. The left wrist was in line. A few years ago, somebody suggested it should get cupped and get the club face open, and these two fortunately ignored that advice, and they've stayed true and square. We'll see that. We'll maybe explain it later when we see it in vision.
Well, I suppose Ben Hogan, perhaps the greatest striker, one of the best certainly of all time, he was one that was very sort of straight wrist. He didn't cup at all. And of course Max Faulkner was a devotee of his, and I don't think I've ever seen anybody more talented at hitting the ball than Max Faulkner, our Open champion in 1951, the most wonderful striker of the ball, and could play wondrous shots. But this young man, you know, he's only just 21 years of age. He's coming up to 22 in around about Christmas time, and he's enormously talented. He's done so many magical things in his short life, and they come along very rarely. We've been fortunate to have perhaps half a dozen this century, if you go back. Perhaps a little more than that if you go back to the early part of the century. And then we had the Walter Hagens and the Hogans and Nicklases and Trevinos. There have been several, but a real star, a really extraordinary talent, is very rare indeed. And if you get, well, if you get one every 25 years, you're doing well. Now, who's to play, who's to play? Both of them with similar shots, and I would think possibly Woods has one that might be a little bit easier because it's a flatter shot, although there's not much in it.
This is the 14th hole, par 3. Straight up the hill, 179 yards. And this is one of the best holes, I think, on the golf course. It is so difficult to get the correct length, especially when you're stood down on the tee with a 4 or 5 iron in your hand. But this flag position today, front left, is probably more accessible than the back flags. It's certainly more accessible than the front right flag, because if you miss that by a couple of yards short, it's down in front of the heather. So they push the tee markers up a little bit. It's going to be playing its full length. And Mark O'Meara there, I think, a little bit unlucky. I think he thought that he'd hold that putt on the last hole. So now an important shot for him to try and get the pressure back onto Tiger.
The one good thing for the players today also, the ridge runs right across the middle of this green, so if you, unless you hit far too much club, you can pitch 4 or 5 yards or more past the flag, and if you get the spin, you could end up very close. It's whether these players have accumulated enough local knowledge to know that, and whether they're capable of playing for it. That landed dead weight. So in fact, you could make an error in judgment here and end up stone dead.
I've made many errors of judgment, but very rarely finished stone dead.
Oh, don't be silly, Howard.
Now Tiger, probably going with a 7 iron here, straight up the hill. Lovely high finish on that one, and he likes that one.
Oh, unlucky. Caught his pitch mark on the way back. That's another yard, perhaps, which by their standards is an error of judgment. They all look very cheesed off when they're about 3 yards wide of the flag with a 2 iron. So it was perhaps a little unlucky that that didn't just come back a little bit more. I do believe Alex Hay once years ago got a 1 at this, way back in the old days when the Dax tournament was here. The wind was behind and he hit a sort of nice 3-wood and it went right in the hole. He slipped away for a coffee and a bicky. O'Meara now, can't stress enough the comfortable looking position, just a little bit of lateral movement as he goes back, and that's beautifully poised. See the knees, the legs, make a good skier, good strong legs, nicely flexed and straight up at the end, beautifully balanced. Tiger, that 3/4 backswing, both feet on the ground, no left heel raised, and leans into it. The right foot just comes up, the right heel or right foot kicks in a lot at the end, and that almost bow shape at the end. 2 good shots, and again O'Meara has the easier putt. coming across the green, whereas Tiger is coming down, and he's got to be a little careful because of the speed of it. Tiger wondering why on earth that didn't spin further. But he doesn't know. It just got jammed in the pitch mark. Might have taken a yard or two off it. I think, Howard, a lot of our friends at home are always intrigued by how often players change their clubs. What have you been a great changer of clubs and putters and drivers and things over the years, or have you stuck with Old Faithfuls?
Somebody's been telling a few stories, haven't they?
No, I'm just curious.
Well, I actually used 8 sets of clubs last year.
Did you?
And
Did you? Did you pay for them? You paid for them all?
I didn't pay for one, actually.
Which
was, but I gave them all back.
Oh, well, that's very comforting.
But I was searching. I was trying to find the correct, I suppose, recipe for success, and never found it. And still on, a year later, I've tried 3 sets this year, and one of them seems to have come back after all these years, the set from 1995, which I played very well with, and they're going to stay in the bag for next year, I hope.
You changed the flex, the thickness of shaft, the thickness of grip. What did you find? Of weight, lies, what?
Basically all of those, yes.
Oh.
You name it. You name it. I changed it.
And I'd been your pro, and you'd had a few quid. I'd have been retired now.
I ran through 3 putters and 8 sets of clubs. That was last year, but mainly different shafts, different thickness of grips. One thing and another, they changed, and you only have to change one of the items to make the clubs play differently.
Tiger for a 2. Just a little bit of swing, maybe. I just tapped that. Didn't give it much. Has he given it enough? No, it wandered down. He was afraid of that one. He's got it down stone dead. But he just didn't spot the line. It was down the left side of the hole. Fancy putted that pretty straight, but it just was a little bit of movement from the left. Now, O'Meara, although he's not all that far away, and we've seen him putt quite beautifully over the past couple of days. As Alex was saying, they have very similar putting styles. They both stand in a very conventional way, and it looks comfortable. You don't see many eccentric-looking putting styles now. Everyone sort of more or less is copybook stuff. Similar grip, everything together and simple. A little bit of swing from the right. Too much that time? No. Is he going to be asked to putt? No, give him. So, well, hardly a chance missed there, but it's one that he might have held. 3 up after 14 holes, 3 up and 4 to play. And much can happen over these last few holes because of the power of Woods.
This is the view of the 15th hole. One of the most frightening holes that I play every year. Aiming down to the bunker on the left and trying to fade the ball back into the fairway is usually the best recipe. And then it leaves you a long iron to a mid iron, providing you hit the fairway, to a very, very slopey green from right to left. And the flag is on the back portion to the right half of the green, so these players will need to place the tee shots in good position so that they can access the flag. Mark O'Meara to play first. Always a problem here with the crowds because they're running up from the side of the 14th, trying to get a vantage point so that they can actually see probably just the second shot to this hole. O'Meara with the burner bubble. Another beautiful looking swing there. I honestly wonder what he would be like from the rough, because he doesn't visit the rough that often. Tiger back out with the metal 3. I saw him hit this club against Ian Woosnam on the 18th, and he absolutely ripped it down the 18th. Oh, that's another one right down the centre of the fairway. What a beautiful shot. Again, Tiger's outdriven Woods. Sorry, Tiger's outdriven O'Meara by 25 yards with a 3-wood against the driver. It's got to tell a little tale or two about how far this fella hits the ball. Lee Westwood was telling me that he played with him in the States once this year, and he outdrove him on one hole by 70 yards. And to consider I can't get within 25 yards of Lee Westwood, I'm not playing with Tiger. Now this is the view of O'Meara's drive. I think it actually looks a lot further than it really is, but he's quite a way past the bunker, so it should leave him with an iron shot to the green. He's going to be in the region of 195 yards to the front of the green, and he's got a nice lie, which will be improved, I'm sure, when he's placed it again. Both of these players are play at a golf course in Orlando, a place called Isleworth, so they know each other's games inside out. I think it's owned by a British entrepreneur, of which Peter Ellis has denied any responsibility whatsoever. This is a worm's eye view of Tiger's ball. Very tightly cropped fairways. Tiger in his familiar red today. Seems like he wants to win this one badly. And the marker boards, I'm surprised that he hasn't insisted on the red marker ball for his golf ball. That's he's got a green one, I believe.
O'Meara facing a shot in total of 206 yards to the pin, and maybe a cut shot would be the ideal one here, starting it left of the flag, just on our TV tower, I would estimate, and curving it back in. This green slopes a lot right to left. If he plays it just left of the flag, he'll leave himself a nice uphill putt. The bunker front right of this green does come into the reckoning a little bit. If he went straight at the flag, he's coming in virtually over that. And he's pretty hard up against the trees down the right-hand side of this hole, so everything to me says a nice little fade shot in here, but he'll probably prove me wrong and aim straight at it.
Peter, I like the way that Mark actually shapes the ball around a golf course.
Yeah, and he's a craftsman, and you know, there are various types of players, and then there are sort of crash-bang wallet merchants, and there's a craftsman like this, and both of them can be very successful. He plays shots rather than hits shots. He's got a good eye for a slope that helps you too, I think.
Probably needed one more club there.
Yes, if he'd landed on that line another 4 or 5 yards, that might have come right down to the flag.
Always an interesting shot. There's just 179 yards for Tiger Woods, but he can go straight at it. The bunker really isn't going to interfere with his shot at all. But it's slightly downhill, this second shot, and whilst this is nearly 180 yards, which would indicate for him probably a 6-iron, maybe slightly less, surprising enough. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he isn't hitting something like an 8-iron. It does play a lot shorter than usual, doesn't it, Howard? Howard is obviously elsewhere, but it's one of this a towering shot, which looks like it certainly might be a 7. Well, that's a great shot by Tiger Woods, and flew it all the way, no bunkering away, just went straight at it. Great shot.
And he's virtually ended up in his own pitch mark. He nudged it on the last hole, and he seems to have almost settled in it this time. But the quality of striking has been very good. There you are, he just smashed in. And, well, he obviously repairs all that. That lovely position, so simple. You could put a sort of pin right through his head into the ground, doesn't move at all, just turns like the sails on a windmill. Turning round the trunk, driving forward, and that great extension through the ball, zipping on. Look at that.
My old coach, Gavin Christie, would like that action quite a lot, Peter. His long right arm, as he called it.
Yeah, well, you know, John Jacobs was talking about that 30 years ago. You can have a long left arm, long right arm, hit past the chin, keep your arm on the ball a bit longer. It's all been said before, and everyone's desperate to try and think of a new way so you can become the guru of the moment. But actually the game hasn't changed all that much over 100 years. You still stand sideways on and give it a whack. Some of the mystique that worked into the game now, I think, we've seen so many players get befuddled when the game isn't as difficult as sometimes they make it.
Called paralysis by analysis?
Well, that sort of thing. I hope this lad doesn't sort of change. I mean, what intrigues me, you get players who become very good, and then they think, I suppose quite rightly so, I can get better, I hope to get better, and they go backwards. The classic, I mean, the sad case is Ian Baker Finch. I mean, who as soon as a card and pencil in his hand and people watching, he can't do it at all, and yet he was the most beautiful player and a fine putter. And just a handful of years ago, he was the Open champion.
I think Colin Montgomery's gone down that avenue as well, Peter, and I think he's absolutely right to go back to Bill Ferguson.
Yeah, Colin's got his own game and his own swing, and for Colin Montgomery to suddenly, and his own build and rhythm and tempo, and to try and change those things, I think he's, well, I don't understand it. So this fella's been around, you know, for 20-odd years, and suddenly he's just discovered a bit of confidence, hold a few more putts, and he's the sort of man of the moment. 20 years older than Tiger, as I said early on, the oldest and the youngest playing, and he's played far better golf than Tiger. They scored much better. He's had 10 more birdies than Tiger this week in the holes played. It's a very funny, there's a lot more to it than a lot of people think, this game of golf. And yet, on the other hand, it's basically very simple. This for a 3. Swinging right, right to left. Now it's left to the hole. Well left, that one will be seen. This green again has more borrow from the right, but if you just happen to overhit it, you go a long way by, and it looks as if you made a colossal error. Tiger's not got a bad line here, Howard, has he?
And if you do go past the hole, it's a very dangerous putt coming back.
Left to right sliders.
Tiger looks like he's got a straight putt, which is very unusual on this green. Didn't Fluff used to be with the Grateful Dead?
Well, he was either their road manager or certainly one of their great fans, yes.
He'll be grateful to finish today, I know that, because he's 36 holes a day for 3 days on the trot is not... and the cigarettes coming thick and fast.
Cup of tea and a drag. politically incorrect. This might just move a touch from the right, you know how. It depends again on the speed. If it goes sort of 2.5 feet by, it can no more than right edge. But anything lacking pace will miss left. Ooh, stayed on the high ground. Just overdid it. Now Mira has one again that to hold for a half. Good view of this again. Look good from the side, Howard. See, it's. You think, is it going to turn? No, it's not now. Not quite.
They did a study in America some time ago regarding the speed of a putt. The ultimate speed for a putt was something like a ball finishing 17.3 inches past the hole, and I think Tiger's got that philosophy. Whatever the speed of the putt was, if it finished 17 inches past the hole, it was the ultimate speed. So I think he's got that attack in mind.
No, never up, never in covers that as well.
Or 99.9% of putts short don't go in.
Correct, and well done. That was a good putt for O'Meara, half in 4. And, well, 3 up.
Half in 4, Wood remains 3 up.
And 3 holes to play of the morning round. Play was delayed a little while because of frost. And these last 3 holes, we could see a tremendous change here. It's wonderful permutations you get over these closing holes. And here, this is O'Meara's putt, which just starts at the right edge and turns right in the middle. With just a little bit of movement there.
Hole 16 at Wentworth. This is one of the tricky holes. The tee shot is the most important part. 1 iron to about this distance, or a 3-wood to pass the bunker, leaving a second shot of 130 yards. So this flag today is 27 yards on and 4 from the right, so there's no room behind it. No room at all behind it, so tough to get the ball close here, I would suggest, unless you're Mark O'Meara and Tiger Woods. Mark O'Meara to play first. And he's got the burner bubble, so it's a big one out for Mark. He'll be aiming this just to the right of the bunker and letting the slope hopefully take the ball from right to left. He's happy with that one. And a beautiful tee shot. Absolutely perfect. Now, interesting to see what the ploy from Tiger will be here. To go with the ever-present 3-wood, or what is going with the big one? He's gone for the metal 3 again. Seems to be his stock shot. I'm not sure what make of club that is, but it seems to work very, very nicely. He's got that a little bit high and probably a fraction right, but still in perfect position. But this flag is going to be more difficult to get to from Tiger's point than from O'Meara. Flag, as I say, it's 27 yards on the green. That only leaves, well, maybe 4 or 5 yards behind it. And anywhere between the marshal and the flag would be a good point to pitch the ball. These greens very wet this week from all the rain. I believe about 1/3 of an inch of rain on Friday night, which really did put the water level up very high. There's my old pal Les. He's been backpacking for me the couple of days, just wandering past.
And there's the magic camera. Look at that. You see, carrying all the kit, all these other cameras that get bigger, bigger, and bigger and bigger as the years go by. That's the view. And now we lift him up. And as Howard was saying, the line in for Tiger's a bit tight. If he goes right at the flag, because if he goes a couple of yards left, he's got a little bit more room. And this is where getting the distance correct is such a big item. fairways are very tight, and for the ordinary club player, or even a good amateur, you know, the single-figure handicap player, it's a bit frightening. I don't suppose many of you will have played off fairways cut as tight as this, unless you've gone to play on a links course in a dry summer when it's very, very tight. The professional players, men and women, they like them tight so they can nip them. But most handicap players like to have a little bit of, you know, like a crew cut rather than a complete baldy. They like just something where the ball invites them to hit it rather than having to make a precise stroke. It's so easy to sort of half top them or go a bit too deep. And that's one of the reasons that they managed to get so much spin and stop. The ball is struck very sharply.
The King of Hassan from Morocco, he has a specially prepared area on each tee on the golf course in Rabat. A strip of rough which is probably about 3 inches long in grass. It's almost like rough. And he plays from that position. It's right at the front of the tee, and it gives him the best possible lie, according to himself.
And he can do precisely what he wants.
Looks a little bit like a Mohican haircut right down the middle of the tee at the front.
They do strange things once you cross the channel. Politically incorrect. Well, he's not very far away. Neither of them are very far away. The estate roads that crisscross so many of the holes here on all the golf courses, round and about. Consulting the book, the yardage. So many of the houses now have closed in with the growth of the trees over the years. Well, this is the hole, of course, many of you remember when Nick Faldo and Graham Marsh played here. And Faldo's ball went through the green into the crowd, and there was quite a delay, and then the ball came back again. And Faldo got sort of really was the whipping boy. It had nothing to do with him. He was totally the innocent person. He didn't see anything from way down the fairway, and went on for weeks and weeks and weeks saying how dreadful it was that he didn't concede Marsh's putt or whatever had happened. And it's extraordinary how hot-headed they got.
111 yards, Peter, to this flag, right at the very back, as Howard was saying, just 4 paces off the very back of the green. Only still a sandwich for Tiger Woods, a little bit of breeze behind him, very little. Mustn't go right. And he hasn't. That's a wonderful shot to about 2 feet.
A nice
Great shot by Tiger Woods.
Nice bit of spin there. I don't know where you're standing when you saw that result of that, Michael, but it was, as you said, a beautiful shot, precisely played, and that's a gimme.
O'Meara 11 yards closer to the hole. Just coming in with the sandwich. Better line to come in from, but he can see where Tiger's put it. And over the back of this green, a very deep drop away. Oh, and that's just sunk in right in its own pitch mark. No danger of going over the back with that one.
Well, advantage Tiger, whose ball spun back, a few feet, and O'Meara's ball didn't shift at all. And that looks very close, Howard, doesn't it? That looks a gimme. Tigers.
I'd give him it from here. That's very close indeed, Peter.
And you see, Woods, we did say earlier that these final holes you can see lots of changes. We could see Woods winning this hole and perhaps winning the next 2 as well with his extra power if he gets his drive away. But, you know, you can lose the 17th and 18th to 5s if you just happen to do something rather foolish.
Yes, 6 up. 6 up would be a daunting prospect for O'Meara, but hopefully it won't be that many. Tiger fixing the ball mark, just past the hole. Perfect position to pitch the ball because he's going to get some kind of backspin from the fairway. O'Meara's ball. I managed to get hold of one of the golf balls that Mark O'Meara used to beat VJ yesterday, just to give it a bit of a testing, and well, it certainly goes straight. On the putting green, that is. But it's a strata golf ball, and it doesn't spin as much as probably the Bellata type balls. But he certainly has a lot of control over it, and it's very impressive. I think he needs to hold this one though, because it could start a bit of a run for Tiger. As I say, we wouldn't like to see Tiger 6 up really for the golf enthusiast. We'd like to see this match go right to the 36th green. Give some excitement. There's a picture that you haven't seen very much in this country this year. Blue sky over Wentworth. Or over any part of Europe for that matter. I heard Peter saying about Jack Nicklaus earlier. It's a shame we couldn't see Jack Nicklaus at his best against either of these two in the final here today. It really would be nice to see Big Jack pitting his skills against either one.
O'Meara then, this for a 3, and it, if he holds it, will only be good enough for a half, I fancy. Running well. Nope. Well, he may ask Tiger. Yes, he's not conceded Tiger's putt, which is about 30 inches. Yes, of course, some of us of a mature vintage were privileged to see Jack playing the great players of the day, and there were a few around. He was awesome. He really was awesome, as indeed Woods is today, with the difference in equipment and so on. This for a 4. No, you can have a go at that, and it'll only take a moment of your time and considerable skill to insert. Tiger to go 4 up. Six under par now, with 2 5s to come.
Well, this final half an hour late in getting started because of the early morning frost. They played pretty quickly, but the match, of course, remains behind schedule. Our time on BBC One has come to an end, so we'll switch coverage immediately to BBC Two to see the conclusion of the first 18 holes of this final. Tiger Woods back to 4 ahead. Coverage almost immediately on BBC Two.
The fairway, the Canberra slopes away to the right, which is a little bit unfortunate because we've seen a lot of good drives land on the fairway and kick into the rough. Then it turns not quite at 90 degrees, but a pretty acute angle, and there's a little band of rough that comes out. Earlier in the year at the PGA Championship it was thicker than it is now, and it can stop a very good second. Tiger is taking his metal 3, teeing up to the left to go right with a hook. That's the plan. And because of that draw, you see the spin has held the ball against the hill and it hasn't run away. It's now well within range, probably, of an iron club for him. O'Meara with a similar ploy, teed up, stood quite well to the left. A lovely golf swing. They know each other's games inside out, and they applied the same technique there. They probably discussed this shot. And that gives you an idea of the slope that I was referring to, that takes the balls away down to the trees. There's the tongue of rough that protrudes. It may come into play because the pin is on the left-hand side, and the players will try and come in on that side. White stakes there of the out of bounds, the gardens and the house to the left of the 17th. And that garden's come into play over many years of PGA Championships and World Matchplay Championships.
Now, if we just look around to the left, I've had a very nice note, and nice to hear from Richard Davison, who came here in 1977. He was the secretary at Formby. Richard came here in 1977, and this area on the left-hand side, behind this tall tree, was a car park in the early days of tournament golf here, and he and the old head greenkeeper in those days, Harry Mills, planted at Frank Pennick, who was one of the great architects of the day. He suggested that the course needed tightening up for tournament play in 1977. I still think you could do certain things here, but they planted, whether they did it all themselves, all the trees down there on the right-hand side where we've seen so many players go. It used to be pretty well all open in there, and players today have both found the fairway, but this is a very intimidating drive. But the trees there have grown in the 21 years and really filled in that whole corner of this 17th. And of course, on the left-hand side up ahead, the canopies of the trees have got bigger, and it's these trees all around here on the right were put in, all those in there were put in by Harry Mills and Richard Davison some 21 years ago, when he came here as secretary from Formby.
One more question.
Now, I'm not sure whether O'Meara can reach. He was there yesterday, but there was some helping breeze. It's a big shot from back here. You can't see the big tree. You know, that's the one we always say, aim at the big tree behind the green, where you can't see it today.
I think it is, yeah.
So O'Meara ideally would want to certainly play down the right half of the fairway with some draw, and if he really caught it, it could turn and get a bit of shoot down, but anything off line will immediately catch the rough on either side of the fairway and just slow it up.
Everybody on the left, hold still, please.
Well, I'm not sure that it is. We were thinking it was Woods, but now O'Meara's got the shot. 287 odd yards, this one. All he can do is hit a 3-wood, and we may well see that this is the moment when the power of the Tiger takes over. Because whilst we know that Mark O'Meara has seen a good second shot there on this 17th, we just think that Tiger Woods might be able to make it. All right. Looks as if he's got the wood out, and he's talking and looking around the corner. He's got to move it a little bit right to left. In fact, quite a lot right to left, because the pin is up in the left-hand corner. Wants to aim for the middle of the green. The big tall tree behind the green is probably the line for him. And of course, out of bounds down the left-hand side. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't protect against a serious hook at that stage, but now that he gave a serious one. Now that could be out of bounds. That's deep into the trees on the right-hand side, and there is an out of bounds there into the gardens, and it is that wide. It's now a question of whether it managed to hit a tree, a long way up the tree, I should add, and come down within the boundary of the course, but we shall find out in just a second.
Well, he was going for the big hook there. I think he had plenty of power. He could have got to the green, I'm sure, if he'd really caught it, but he just failed to get the draw. And as Mike Houston said, he fired it straight away into the trees, and it'll be a miracle, small miracle, if they find it. And suddenly O'Meara is very much in the driving seat. He's having a poke about in there. Just have a, there's just no hook on it, Alex. He just drilled it and just went dead straight.
Well, he's actually aiming to the right-hand side, well to the right, and he's got a sort of shut stance. He's squared up the club. He's going to come down inside, as he's done now, but instead of rolling the club face, he got his body in front of it, and then he couldn't roll it at all, and you could see his right shoulder trying to do the roll, but much too late. And it's one of those things, when you try to bend the ball, you do take the trouble on the right into stock. And he's over there, just beyond our little ball salesman, who's always there every year. Beverly Lewis is in there having a look, Peter.
One of the most disturbing and annoying things, I suppose, about being a professional golfer is when the crowd's around you and they won't get out of the way, because it's one of the few games where the spectators are really in with the players. Beverly's had a look. Can he get it out, Bev?
I very much doubt it. It'd be lucky if he actually gets in there. It's in pretty thick. It's in about 5 or 6 yards behind about 3 or 4 large trees and a big rocky sort of area behind the ball and tree stumps. So it's really bad news. But he's a magician, this chap, isn't it? So we can't rule anything out, but it's not looking very good for him.
I think more of a woodcutter than a magician, I think, is called for in this situation. But it agitates you when you come up. You know you've done a bad shot, and you just want people to get out of the way, move back and out. Let the dog see the rabbit, and all that stuff. And it's quite extraordinary how people are loath to move because they secretly enjoy seeing the masters in trouble. You can find all sorts of things, and there might be an old caddy's burial ground somewhere. And I really don't know where he can drop that. If he's going to spend any time, he looks as if he'd have to go back to where he's played from. Referee Paramore has gone to have a look.
Start to push forward, folks. Gonna just keep back stepping.
There we go. Can we get back a bit?
Can you make way, please? Can you make way, please?
Now we need a bit more room than that.
Go right back, please. Turn around. Go right back. There's no way you can come through here. Thank you.
That really is wide. I don't think there's anywhere we can drop it. You really ought to be able to assess this situation in about 10 seconds. Till everyone gathers round. Cameramen, photographers, all trying to get the picture of the year.
Hole conceded. Woods is 3 up.
Hole conceded. Woods 3 up. Yes, we're saving a bit of time there. He knew there was nowhere for him to go. And so O'Meara just pitches one up for a bit of practice. And, well, we did say that things happen over the closing holes. We saw Tigers 3 at the 16th. And then a concession at the 17th. I wonder what the 18th hole's in store. It's about 130, 40-yard walk through the trees and over the road to the 18th tee.
So, yes, Tiger Woods having conceded the 17th hole, Mark O'Meara just played a quiet little pitch down there in case the match might come there this afternoon. There's no reason why he couldn't just get a feel of the shot. And there we look back with the 18th pin, its usual Sunday position right at the front left-hand corner of the green. And I can tell you, if you're putting from the back of the green towards the front, it can leave you with a bit of a nightmare as it goes whistling down that slope. 502 yards it measures. It doglegs nicely to the right. You'll see in a moment 3 large bunkers that came in the last few years. You're forced out towards them by the narrowing of the course that Howard Clark mentioned, and then it turns, you play over this ditch onto this flat. And if you've hit a perfect tee shot, you can reach the green, and that bunker there, front left, is the pin is right behind it today. Fairway seems to get narrower and narrower, Peter.
Yes, it does. It certainly looks prettier, and it's the fairways were too wide for players of this caliber. As Howard Clark was saying, it's when they hit the ball so far, the courses don't have much protection. Even Augusta, because of the width of the fairways, is only made difficult by the speed of the greens and where they put the flags. We go back to the 18th tee, and well, Tiger, I don't think will use the driver here, because if he really clattered one, it's possible to drive into the little ditch that runs across the fairway, and there's really nothing to be gained, because if it stops short of the ditch, he's on the downslope. So I fancy it'll be the 3-wood, just guiding it round the corner. O'Meara, just being that little bit shorter, will be attempting his usual straight drive, and then I think he might need a little wood to reach the green in 2, or certainly a big iron, with the wetness of the ground immediately in front of the green. Be nice if he could nick this one from his point of view. It'll only be 2 down at lunch. Another sweet drive. Sweet shot. Yes, the favourite 3. Just down the left side with a little bit of fade is ideal, or a straight one over the edge of the trees on the right. Well, he didn't hold back on that one. And he's played a nice little fade, a highish fade. O'Meara will have to play first. And just the final hole. Although they were half an hour late, they'll probably kick off for the second round at 1 o'clock. They were due to play 8:30 and 1 o'clock. If you enjoy a nice lunch, it's a pity really that if you're a bit of a gourmet, or would be, that they only play 18 holes, because they put on a cracking lunch here. And it's nice to sort of tarry a while. Mike Stewart, who set the course up, I don't know whether Mike had a bad night, and has just put the flag on the green. It's very close to the front. We'll see it again in a moment. It's only, well, it says it's 8 paces on. Certainly doesn't look it. 4 in from the left. And that is it's difficult to get to unless you get exactly the right club and plummet it down on the green. Anything hard, as Alex was saying, that goes to the back of the green, you're faced with a very difficult task of getting down in 2, because the green all falls away from you, left to right from the back. And of course, if you've come up short, chipping it close isn't so easy, because it's a dampish area within 15-20 yards of the front of this green. Fluff's looking slightly bedraggled with the old woolly hat pushed back, and he just has the air of somebody that, well, could do with a damn good sit down. Wonderful character. The game of golf, it never fails to amaze me how many wonderful characters, men and women, young and old, those that tell tall tales. And yet, you know, if you cheat at golf, you've had it. It's the worst thing you can be. A lot of other games now, they cheat a bit, don't they? They don't call it cheating now. Players allowed to clean and place, if you're wondering what he's up to, because of the underfoot conditions. Very squelchy and wet. O'Meara first, and he's got quite a long shot, I fancy, and he's got to carry it all the way.
Yes, he has got quite a long way to go still, Peter. 221 yards to the flag. And out with another little metal wood. He carries 3 woods. It's unusual for men pros. Lady pros have a little family of woods in their bag, but men don't seem to have so many. Play their long irons very well, of course. Bunker left is quite close to his line as he comes in. And a big tree on the right to be avoided. That's a superbly shaped tee shot he hit. Put him in the ideal position, though, really, here.
Looks to be on line, and it's high. If it's the right distance, it's good. Oh, he just tweaked it. That would have been perfect. Oh, just turned it a little bit. If only, if only. Now he's in the sand, and well, look at the draw, whether it's plugged or not. One or two of these bunkers are a bit hard. Just maybe one or two do with a little tickle up with a fork. Tiger now with a, well, a medium to long iron.
217 yards, Peter, and into a little bit of wind from the right, and it looks as if he's got no more than a 4-iron, which makes a big difference. If you can get it up there with a towering height of the shot which he plays. Look at the height of that, absolutely way up there, and a great shot if it's the right club.
Wonderful strike. Absolutely inch perfect for distance. Still, much can happen. Our last golf of the season on TV. A few of the lads having a glass of cooling ale. But we'll be back. Masters next year to look forward to. 50th birthday today of our engineering manager, Peter Wright, and his daughter, Hannah. What about that? How often does that happen, I wonder? She was 21, and the old man was 50. Last night they took us on a cruise up the Thames. I was very brave. Very enjoyable. Oh, hello. Orange, is that orange, dear? These are the grand hospitality pavilions. It used to be a bit of an old tent and a rickety-rackety floor. The grub was all right, though. Now it's very much more sophisticated. And as Steve Ryder said, on a number of occasions, we've had the world's best players had as good a field as we've had for a long time. Oh, Mira's ball's lying all right. Got to flip it up over there, and he can afford to pitch it well within a foot or two of the flag. It won't shift if he gets enough elevation on it. The green tilts a little bit towards O'Meara. He said begrudgingly. Got a good view from here of this bunker shot. It's not very far, but again, watch for the length of swing, the pace of swing, and if there's the right amount of sand under this, I should be very surprised if he doesn't put this very close. Simple it is, and beautifully played. I know it's very frustrating for you at home because you can't get out of bunkers, but if you think about it, go and have a couple of lessons and learn to do it right. You'll certainly get out, take no more than 3 every time. That's conceded. Tiger with a putt, though, to win the hole. Got to be careful, Alex, though. If he thinks, well, I'll make sure of getting up, it's very easy to slide 4, even 5 feet past.
Yes, we've seen it happen before here, and I shouldn't think that Tiger's actually had any practice on that front part of the green. He probably never dreamed that they would put the pin there. This is his first visit to Wentworth, and we've seen so many times someone attacks the flag from this side and ends up diving 3 or 4 feet past and going left. And he is an aggressive putter. He's a little bit incensed at what he did at the 17th, so He nevertheless has played 2 perfect shots so far at 18. Wonderfully, silently, galleries are. And this putt is about 12 feet with a break from the right and very quick. This to win the hole. Well, he didn't win the hole. He's halved it in 4. He didn't go charging past as I thought or suggested he might. And that's been a very good game of golf. A good exhibition from 2 good friends, 2 great competitors, great players.
The oldest and the youngest. Time, maybe 10 minutes late, 1:15 latest.